Let's go back a little bit into the history, and Danny, you can help us with this. The NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, and this is the kind of the bedrock threat, really, that we're facing.
That's right.
On which I think the Constitutional Protection Zone really finds some life.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, what happened is, obviously, after 9/11, with the passage of the Patriot Act and the other kind of rather draconian measures that were taken by the W. Bush administration and Dick Cheney specifically, they began to move a lot of these statutes into place, but they began a whole series of executive orders, secret executive orders that were being put in place to authorize renditioning people, picking people up with no probable cause, torturing them, etc. And there were a whole series of these secret executive orders. And what happened is that John Yoo, one of the lawyers that worked with Cheney, in that case with David Addington, they began to make arguments that if these secret policies were being followed by the executive branch and they were notifying Congress confidentially that these were going on, that was, they were acquiescing, that Congress was acquiescing to what it is they were doing. And so they continued to make that argument throughout their entire administration. And what happened is the right-wing elements in the Republican Party said, look, let's try to get these codified. Let's try to get these specifically authorized by legislation, and so that we can basically push back against the liberals in the Democratic Party and challenge them for being soft on terrorism.
In this particular case, in this issue of we need a constitutional protection zone in our county and our city, one of the constituencies that's really important are attorneys.
Of course.
Because this is a legal issue, a constitutional question. This is the kind of thing that attorneys need to lead the way and help people understand and articulate why we have to take action.
The first thing we want to do is reach out to the lawyers. We want to talk with the lawyers in the County Bar Association to get a critical mass of our lawyers organized so that we can then in fact start holding meetings, so that the lawyers can hold meetings among their neighbors and friends to get each of the local areas where each of the city council people have homes to move in there to conscientize them. Because with we know that we shouldn't try to attack this as a vanguard change in the law. There has to be the grassroots people.
Right.
We have to all become familiar with what it is that's really going on here. And so that we want to get the lawyers brought on first, then we want to have little town meetings where the lawyers are all going around organizing and telling the people that there's a serious danger. This is the Paul Revere movement.
Right.
We need to have Paul Revere saying, look at the fascists are coming, the fascists are coming.
Right. And I will suggest to our viewers that santacruzcpz.org, you have on that website both the city and the county resolution that they can look at. I think Danny really identifies what you need to do, and this makes it a grassroots effort.
That's
right. Get out when you're talking to people about, what is the NDAA, how does it threaten your civil liberties, what can we do to protect not only my civil liberties, but my neighbor's civil liberties, my community's civil liberties, my country's civil liberties for that matter. And this is particularly important. But tell us more about that kind of organizing and what you really hope to accomplish.
Well, it's first what we want to do is we want to get individual people to say, look, I support a resolution like this. I support a resolution telling our city council that we want you to pass an ordinance. Right. So that if we can get the city council and the board of supervisors first on board, agreeing to at least pass a resolution, taking one more step in this direction, and then the ordinance itself, just a short 3-page ordinance, passing the ordinance, which actually makes it enforceable. And what the ordinance is going to be doing is eventually saying, look, if in fact you're a member of an official or you're a law enforcement officer and you get wind of the fact that someone's going to try to enforce it here, as a condition of your continued employment.
Ah, interesting. There you go.
You have to
putting some teeth in it.
You have to notify the city council, and you have to notify the board of supervisors, and then they're required under the ordinance to immediately take steps to find the person who may be the target of such an enforcement effort, not to let them go free, bring them before a magistrate here. and have a full hearing with probable cause standards and represented by counsel, everything that they're entitled to.
Right.
We're not trying to set up a zone where any potential terrorist can come and get totally protected.
Right.
What we're doing is setting up a procedure where the constitutional rights are going to be provided to anybody that the federal government wants to target inside our state.
And let me say before you continue, and I'd like you to continue in that vein, people will ask, well, a constitutional protection zone, what does that look like? What does it accomplish? How is it enforced? And this is exactly what you're talking about, because we can tell people that this is what it's going to do. This is how it's going to be in effect.
That's exactly right. And so it's very concrete. So what we're trying to do is once we get the city of Santa Cruz on board this, first with a resolution, then with the ordinance, and then the county, then we're going to go to other cities and other counties. We're going to try to get California to become a constitutional protection zone.
Absolutely.
So that we will stand, and so that the position that was originally taken by the state assembly in making it a crime for any federal official to come into this state to try to enforce this is going to then be put back into the law. So that's where we're going.
That's where we're going.
And I think it's important that in any successful grassroots movement, there is always a point at which you want to educate people. You want to tell them exactly what this is that we're asking them to support, and how it will benefit and impact their lives. And I think that's the real benefit, again, of having a Romero Institute involved, having yourself, a man of your caliber, your national reputation involved with something like this, to say, well, let me see, I'd like to take a look at this. Does this apply to my life? How is this going to apply to my neighbor, to my community, as I say? And to have the Romero Institute involved is really a extreme benefit to the organizational aspect of it.
It's important for us to really realize that we're only reaching out to people and asking them to follow the oath that they have taken when they took office.
Right.
All the people who are elected officials, the police, everybody has taken an oath to the Constitution to protect it. And so what CPZ is all about, the Constitutional Protection Zone movement is all about, is saying, okay, well, let's stand with that.
Yeah.
We are going to protect the Constitution.
Let's acknowledge that that's our duty.
Let's not engage just in platitudes.
Right.
Say, oh, we really wish the Constitution were enforced. We think it ought to be enforced. Then enforce it. That's your job. That's your oath to protect the Constitution.
And again, I think that it is a very personal thing, and I think that you really have to make people aware that they may come for you.
We've got to stand up for ourselves and say we don't care whether it's a Republican or Democratic administration.
Right.
We're mad as hell if we're not going to take this
anymore.
anymore.
And on that note, we have about 30 seconds or so. It's been wonderful having you here.